Welcome to our paper mache class. We're going to give you guys a little lesson on what's going on. My name is Melinda and I have here with me.
And I'm Stephanie.
And we have Eli in the background. So,
hey guys. So today we're going to be demonstrating how to do some paper mache. First off, we'll need some supplies. We're going to do a paper mache Easter egg today. So first we need balloons. So here's our balloon right here. We blew it up about this size. It can be smaller, bigger, it doesn't matter. You just want to make sure you have a good solid balloon that's not going to pop while you're putting your paper mache on it. We also have flour, okay, cornstarch, glue, and a little Clorox bleach. Now, you don't really need the glue, you don't really need the cornstarch. If you want to just do it basic, you can do it with just flour and water. 1 part flour to 1 part water, meaning 1 cup of water, 1 cup of flour. You mix it in right here, you get it all gooped up. A stronger paper mache, you can put some glue in, which use regular Elmer's glue. And you can also use a little bit of cornstarch. That's going to make a stronger bond. But if you don't have those, that's okay. You can do without. So once we have it all mixed up, 1 part water, 1 part flour, I like to just pour in just a little bit of glue, just like, let's say that much. And then toss in some cornstarch. We'll say, let's give a demonstration here. Just a little bit of cornstarch. Maybe about that much. Maybe 1/3 a cup of cornstarch.
That's a lot of cornstarch.
That's a lot of cornstarch, but it's cheap. It's cheap and it's not a problem to replenish that. So, first things first, we stir it all up together. And once we've said, and we're going to do it with our hands. Now, I like to use warm water because when you're stirring it up, it's a lot nicer to have nice warm water. Oh, there's a fork in there for stirring, but let's just move that for now. So it's a lot nicer to stir it up with warm water. You don't want to be outside and it be cold and your hands are cold in there. Warm water is going to make the sensation a little bit nicer. It's a nice goopy paper mache. You can go a little bit thinner with this. If you've got more people working, it can be a little bit thinner. This is a nice thick paper mache. So once we've got it all stirred up, then Stephanie's going to demonstrate how we're going to do our strips. All right, now it's important that when you're doing your strips, especially if you're doing something round like a balloon, that you do pretty thin, like 1 inch to 1.5 inches. All right, and so we're going to do a lot of strips of paper. Get some of those going. Then we're going to stick them straight down into our solution, into our batter, I should say. And we want to make sure that the strips go all the way down in, and then you pull out 1 at a time to make sure it's fully coated on all sides. So you stick it all down in there. Sometimes I'll do 4 or 5 strips in there. If you do a lot of strips on top of each other, sometimes they stick together. So I do like to pull out 1 strip at a time. So once you pull it out, you hold it up, and then you take 2 fingers and get the excess off. We don't need all of that on there. You just need it to be wet. That's going to be gluey enough. And you see, you don't really see a lot of paper mache sticking to it. You can just know that it's wet and it's ready to go. And then we'll go ahead and drape it over our balloon. Just like that. Now, you want to check it out once you drape it and make sure that it's laying flat and smooth it out with your fingers. And then you just keep going. You just keep going. It's important to do 1 layer at a time. If you try to do a whole lot of layers, then it'll get real goopy and it'll take a long time to dry. And then you'll be stuck in a situation where you're waiting a couple of days for it to dry. So you just keep going with the same technique. We're going to pull our fingers through, get all the excess off. That's to conserve our paper mache, and that should be just enough for it to stick together. We'll go 1 direction, another direction, turn it over and over and over again until you get a final product. Melinda, would you mind grabbing our final product here?
This
All right.
is what it should look like after you're done, and it has dried for a few hours or maybe a day. If you don't do that and you do it the wrong way, this is the bad product.
Yeah, this is
the good product.
Right, this is one where... Go ahead, Melinda, I'm sorry.
If you notice, this is really lumpy, the paper's tearing off. You don't want that. You want it to be smooth and pretty stern.
And you might say, how did we get this? It's because that someone used it too thick of paper right here, and it started buckling on the edges. Mm-hmm. And also, they didn't smooth it down when they were going. So all these edges right here are really hard and poking up. and it's going to be hard to smush those back down. In fact, impossible at this point. So really you'd have to cut them off, or you'd have to do another layer all the way over again. All right, and that's the long and the short of. Now this is our final product of our Easter egg, but we still need to paint, color it. You could even use construction paper, colored construction paper, to paper mache over that. If you don't want to use paint and you have that laying around, you can just take your construction paper here, do the same strips, or even you could do small pieces. You could cut it into triangles, you could cut it in different shapes, and you could paste those on however you like to make a certain pattern to make it look like an Easter egg. We're going to paint this one just because it's going to go faster and it's going to look real bright and vivid. But here's an example of how you would do some with construction paper. It's the same technique. You just want to make sure that the construction paper gets nice and wet. It's a thicker paper, so it's going to be harder to stick on there than newspaper. That's why we use newspaper, because it's real thin and it absorbs very quickly the paper mache. So there we go. There's another little strip, and it works just as well. Construction paper obviously is not free, so we wouldn't use only construction paper. It would be our last coat that we would put on this guy right here, just to give him some color. But that's our videos. Say thank you to our lovely assistants, and we'll see you next time around when we have it painted.